Hi there, you're watching Time Warner Cable's local edition. This is the Sacramento Report. I'm Jaime Garza, and I'm joined by Senator Tony Strickland. It's always good to have you here, Tony.
Thanks for having me on, Jaime.
You guys are really busy over at the Capitol working on budgets, and a lot of things that we're looking at deal with taxes, whether we're going to extend taxes, whether we're not, what we're going to do there. So you have formed a caucus that deals specifically with taxes, but what do you do with that caucus? What's the purpose?
Well, we're going to get behind legislation, we're going to have conferences, but we're going to talk about policies that will turn California around and actually fix the budget situation once and for all. We're not in this budget mess because we're taxed too little. In fact, we're taxed too much. We have the highest sales tax in the nation, we have the highest gas tax in the nation, highest corporate tax west of the Mississippi, and we also have the third highest income tax. So what that tells me is we're one of the highest tax states, but we're not maximizing those precious dollars that do come to Sacramento. And then we have to talk about tax policies that help grow the economy, because I think the only way we get out of this budget mess is by growing the California economy. An example, we're one of only 3 states that charges a sales tax on manufacturing equipment. So everybody knows that manufacturing jobs and small business really drive an economy, and we're not growing the manufacturing job base. In fact, those jobs, and it's almost like our economic development agencies for states like Texas and Florida, a lot of those manufacturing jobs are not coming here based on our tax policy. And the only way we get back in this budget mess is by putting people back to work, and we have to look at some of our tax policies, and the Taxpayers Caucus will be at the forefront of that.
Well, do you think it's going to be an easy challenge to get rid of some of those taxes, or we're going to look at it, well, we're in so dire need for money that we're not going to get rid of those taxes, at least not yet, which could be 10 years down the road?
Well, and that's why we formed the Taxpayers Caucus, to frame the debate. I will debate anybody, including Governor Brown, on the fact is, if you get rid of the sales tax on manufacturing equipment, he says, well, that's scored at losing $500 million. People change their behavior based on the tax policies, and what I'm saying is you'll get more than $500 million back when you put people back to work, because what happens is now people have a job, and we have the second highest unemployment rate in the nation, only behind Nevada. They have a job, and there's less people on the social safety net, because unlike a business, when the receipts are down, more and more people are on that social safety net and relying on government. If we put people back to work, that's less people on the social safety net, more people working, and you get more revenue into the state. And I'm happy to have that debate, because right now, 2 years ago, we're having this debate over the largest tax increase in California history, and at that time, I said that we were going to be in a worse shape 2 years from now than we were at that time, and I ended up being right.
I'm going to go back a few years, back to Willie Brown, if everybody remembers Willie. And in those days, I remember hearing extension. We have a tax that expires, and we're just going to keep it in place because no one's going to miss it. Are we in sort of that same position now, where the governor wants to go to the voters and say, shall we extend these temporary taxes? I mean, because in the past, they were just pushed on. They get pushed on.
Right. Well, that's the first thing is, what's the old saying? There's 2 definites. It's death and taxes. The third one is anything that's temporary, they're going to try to extend for a long period of time. In fact, the Golden Gate Bridge was supposed to be a temporary toll, went to just build for the bridge, and last time I checked, when I came across, they kept on taking your money. Once government gets that appetite for money, it hardly ever moves back, and it was the largest tax increase in California history, and actually hurt the situation moving forward. It didn't help, and I think those are failed policies that we don't need to continue for another 5 years.
Tony, sum it up for me. Taxpayer Caucus, what can we expect in the next, let's say, 12 to 24 months in relation to the budget?
We're going to talk about things like the spending cap that only grows the government population plus inflation. We're going to talk about things like sales tax and manufacturing equipment, that we can put people back to work and create jobs. We're going to have these conferences. We're going to get behind legislation that we actually, pension reform is going to be at the top of our list. When Robert Rizzo, who's city manager of Bell, gets $26 million if he lives life expectancy, one individual, that says we're on the wrong track and we need reforms, and the Taxpayers Caucus will be at the forefront of those reforms.
Okay, we'll be looking forward to hearing more about that. Tony Strickland, Senator, thank you so much, and thank you at home for watching Time Warner Cable's local edition of the Sacramento Report. Don't forget, though, you can always watch this interview as well as others by going to My Government On Demand, and you'll find that on Channel 1.